going to drill all of your attachment points. This is where we're going to attach it to the CNC trim mold. Now we're going to have to cut off all these flanges, and we'll do that on the band side here. And then we're left with this. Okay, this is the CNC trimming mold. It'll be the one with the brass inserts in it to attach the holster shell that you're going to trim. We have to get this onto the machine so that it's parallel to the machining surface. We do that. We've machined an edge here that's perfectly smooth, perfectly flat, and perpendicular with the x-axis. And these are also perpendicular to the y-axis and perfectly smooth and square to this. So you can use all of those reference edges to set up your mold. I'm going to put it on here so that it's roughly in line, and then we're going to check it and fine tune it. So what I do is I use a reference edge on my mill table just to get it close. And I'll snug down one end. And I'll tighten the other end just enough to get it snug down so that it's still a little bit loose and can be moved around. Okay, now you're going to need some way to probe the mold. We're using a Heimer probe. Whatever you use is going to be up to you. You can use a wobbler. There's a lot of different ways to do this. I'll show you the way I do it. So we're just going to jog the probe over to one of the reference edges. And I'm going to use this reference edge. We're just going to go to 0, and then I'm going to sweep that edge and see which way it runs out. So I know that this side of the mold is low. I'm going to go ahead and move that. Just a couple taps with a dead blow hammer until I see the gauge move. And then we'll check it again. We'll sweep that edge again. And I see virtually no run out, so we're in pretty good shape there. I'm going to go ahead and tie it down. Okay, once you've got the mold tied down to the bed of your machine, the next thing you're going to need to do is tell your machine where it is in the X and Y axes. That's why we've machined in this feature. This surface right here is your X0. This surface right here is your Y0. It's recessed down inside to protect those precision machine surfaces. So we're going to go over and probe those and tell the machine where this mold is. Okay, once that's read 0 on the gauge, I'm going to zero out the x-axis on the machine controller. 0x. Okay, then I'm going to go back over to the machine, find my Y0. Okay, now I'm going to zero out the Y-axis on my machine controller. Okay, now we're going to find Z0. Okay, the entire surface, the entire back surface is your Z0, so you can probe that anywhere. Then we're going to zero our Z-axis. Now, the cutting routine is already pre-programmed to cut 0.08 of an inch below the bed to ensure that you get a clean cut on your Kydex shell. If you want to go lower than that or higher than that, you can manipulate where your Z0 is on your machine controller. But by default, you're going to be cutting 0.08 below the base plate. Okay, we're going to remove our probe because we're now done with that. The machine knows exactly where that mold is. And we're going to take our holster shell and attach it on there. It's going to snap down on there. And I like to take a dead blow hammer and just make sure it's bottoms out everywhere. Just give it a nice couple of taps. Now, depending on your setup, you may or may not need to hold it down with screws, depending on your feeds and speeds and machine rigidity. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to hold it down with screws. That's why we drilled those holes and provided the brass inserts on your CNC mold. These don't have to be snugged down that much, just finger tight, just a little bit snug. It's more than enough to hold it down during the trim process. We're going to use a 1/8 inch cutting tool to do the trimming. We're using a down cut cutter. We'll give you the specifications on that, but it's important that it's a down cut so that it pushes the shell down against the mold and doesn't try to lift it up. Okay, so we're ready to press cycle start and start trimming. Okay, now we'll just remove the screws, remove the scrap, and your holster shells. There's your scrap. And these are just let straight off your trim mold. There you go, finished parts ready to fold over. Take your next one, snap it down on there, screw it down, secure it, and you're ready to go.